Hey everybody, welcome back. So, Crimson Desert, now that's actually out, I've put about 6 hours into this game, which is a very small number, very small number. Like, it's not even scratching the surface of what this huge, expensive, open world game can be. So, apparently, a number I've heard, some ridiculous numbers I've heard about, like something like 100% it, which is kind of insane to think about. Apparently, like, 2 to 300 hours? Like, it could. So this game is very huge. Like, you could definitely tell it still has some of its MMO roots in it. Which, again, the game was originally going to be an MMO before they decided to change it into a single player game for unknown reason. But yeah, let's get right into it because there is a bunch to go over. We're first going to look at the Metacritic score, which is currently sitting at a 78 based on when this video was recorded. I took the screenshot before the user score came out, so it is actually, last I checked, at a 78, which I think that might be the first in a very long time, if ever. Like, where the user score and the meta score are completely the same. The open critic score was sitting at a flat 80, so I mean, so it's about a 7 to an 8, seems everyone is in agreement on. I mean, that's a pretty fair score. I'll admit, it's lower than I thought it would be. Like, I'll be the first to admit it. Because I was thinking like high 80s, low 90s. Again, maybe I was just basing that just based around all the hype, for this game. But whatever the case may be, I mean, it's still a very decent score. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Like, some of the issues, obviously, I knew one of the issues reviewers were going to have with it is the controls. I knew that was coming. Like, everybody who played it on previews talked about this, so it's not surprising, but the developers are looking to essentially rectify the issue. They're working on a patch to update the controls, so it seems they're on top of it. They've definitely listened to player feedback, which is a good thing in that regard. So, let's take a look at we're going to look at some of the reviews that we've seen. I'll first show you some more positive ones, then we'll go to the more mixed ones. So as you can see here, there's like GameLiner gave it 100, where they delivered a dynamic and visually stunning open world feels alive. I definitely agree with that. Gamer Heroes, kind of the same thing. Various hundreds, right? DualShockers 95, Force 95, Gaming Trend 95. You get the whole thing. There's a lot of like 8s and 9s. There's actually a lot of 8s and 9s, besides the more mixed reviews. Now let's actually take a look at some of the more mixed reviews then, shall we? So Game Informer gave it a 70. It's a beautiful, exploration-rich open world that's a clear technological achievement hampered by cornucopia, I've never heard of that word before, of little frustration and a stark lack of narrative depth. GameSpot gave it a 70. Crimson Desert is a frequently thrilling game elevated by an open world well worth exploring. Like, that's a very common consensus. The open world itself has been a huge, plus for the game from what I've read. And hard-hitting combat that delights with its depth emphasis on player expression. It might not always be the most cohesive game, mixing high fantasy with steampunk and sci-fi elements, but there's nothing else quite like it. And I agree with that. Like, say what you will about the game, about the world, it's not exactly the most cohesive, but because it mixes a whole bunch of elements, but I think it's really cool. So I'm all for it. So that's not exactly a negative in my eyes, but that's just me though. Anyways, one final mixed review. Eurogamer gave it a 60. A vast world and even faster array of MMO-like activities. Again, I brought that up before. Mixed with glittering fidelity in Crimson Desert. But what good is it without much character, texture, or charm? I mean, the game does have... I would say it does have its charm. Like, it absolutely does. So I would disagree with Eurogamer on that front. But I will say this though, like some of the things I found are like really weird, such as the walking controls. That's mainly my biggest problem with the game at the moment. Again, I've only put 6 or 7 hours into this experience, so I've got a long way to go. I know some complain about the first few puzzles. I'm like, I've beaten I think I've completed like 3 or 4 puzzles so far, and they're not that difficult. Hell, literally, in the first or 2 puzzles, they literally tell you exactly and show you literally what to do. Which, based on earlier versions of the game from what I've heard, they did not tell you that. So they've actually had to go back and update it so it's like playing right in people's faces, because like this generation of gamers, it seems like they're so because of the whole yellow paint thing that's been going on for so freaking long that people are so used to, that most Western AAA games do. So like they've kind of forgot about a challenge somewhat. So I mean, at the end of the day, like you can always look it up on YouTube if you're really stuck with it. That's a good thing about YouTube nowadays. But even still, though, it's not that hard if you really, really put your mind to it. It's not that hard to complete. I don't think the puzzles so far were that difficult. So if I don't have a problem with it, most people shouldn't. But again, that's just me though. So again, I haven't played much, so I can't really give like a review or anything like that. That was like just a quick first impressions based on the 6 hours I played of it. So take that what you will. Again, this game isn't going to be for everybody. Like, it's not. It never was going to be. Especially considering what this studio's previous work was, which was an MMO. But, yeah, apparently there was like some other stuff that came out too right before I started recording this. Such as the fact that there was like AI generated art that was discovered from these paintings, which I've seen these paintings, so I can verify those actually exist in the game. Now, my thing is, I have a sneaky suspicion it's like an Expedition 33 situation where, if you guys remember that, there was a whole thing after the game won a whole bunch of awards that there was AI art placeholders that were found on like signposts in the game. So that makes me wonder if that's kind of a similar situation here with Crimson Desert. If that's the case, and shame on Pearl Abyss, I think they should have said this, because the Steam page or whatever for the game does not tell you, because there's actually a disclosure on Steam now. It's been for a while, like where it'll actually disclose whether a game uses some form of AI or not, as part of game development. And if those aren't placeholders, then they should absolutely add that disclosure to the store page so that people will know, say, hey, you know what you're getting into, especially based on how people feel about AI. But if it's not, they're like finalized, I think they should have caught that before release and removed it, or just come out and say, hey, it's a placeholder, because when that happened with Expedition 33, they did the exact same thing. So that's just kind of how my take is on the whole AI controversy thing that's been going on right now with Crimson Desert. But and also, one final thing we're going to talk about. Apparently, the reviews have the speculation that the reviews have caused their stocks prices to go down. Apparently by a big number. So let's get into it. Crimson Desert is out today after half a decade in development, and the early reviews aren't especially stellar. This may be why the stock price of the game's developer has dropped nearly 30% since reviews were released. According to Seoul Economic Daily, it's currently trading at 46,601, approximately 31.11 in the US. Which is down 28.96% from the before $43.79 price that had earlier in the week. The game's performance may be concerning investors because it reportedly costs 201/133.5 million to develop. I mean, that's not exactly a high number compared to other games that we've had, like Spider-Man 2, for instance. That costs like over 300 million, for instance. GameSpot's Crimson Desert review gave it a 7. I talked about that and praised its open world environment and combat and traversal, while crossing the quest design, the way the narrative unfolds, and the game's inventory system. That's a common complaint I've heard, that the story is not the best. Which, I mean, based on what I've heard, what I've seen so far, yeah, I can see why people would say that. Again, currently at 78 score, which is far from catastrophic, but the Seoul Economic Daily notes the stock market expects a score of mid to high 80s. Again, kind of what I expected. It's too soon to say if those scores will negatively impact their sales, but so far, from what I've heard, it's hit 2 million. The developer came out and said that, so it's already going to be a success. Earlier this week, Crimson Desert reportedly hit 400,000 pre-launch copies and outpaced two of last year's best-selling games, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, at the same point in the release cycles. The real test will be its long-term performance with players, especially in the weeks and months after launch. And considering how big this game is, I think people are going to be playing this for a while. Especially if they're trying to go for 100% completion, because this game is huge. Like, no mistake about it. It is massive. So at the end of the day, I'm generally liking Crimson Desert from what I played, but I understand it's not for everybody. And it may not be for them, but this game definitely is for me. So, despite it being open world, so. Which, I mean, this was kind of special because there's like so much going on with this game. So that's kind of what really caught my attention. There's just so much stuff that they did with this game. So that's what caught my interest ultimately. And the combat is really darn good from what I played so far. Again, I'm very early on in the game. That could change. But, yeah, that's all I got to say on this. So, yeah, Crimson Desert so far is shaping up to be a W for me, in my opinion. But maybe that's because I kind of knew going in that it wasn't your traditional RPG, which it's not. Like, the devs themselves even said it's not an RPG, even though people were trying to say it was, but it's not, so. Anyways, that's all I gotta say. So what do you guys think of Crimson Desert if you played it so far? What do you think of the reviews and, like, the stock price going down? All that stuff, let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll see you on the next one. Till then, have a good one.